Let's say you're a high school student in Stanislaus County. You're interested in a career in the medical industry, but you're pretty sure you're not going to be a doctor. How do you find out more about what's available to you? How do you get your hands on some medical training? Maybe try a few things out. If you can relate to this hypothetical question, then this episode is for you. Let's get started. This is Ready for Work. All right, welcome back to Ready for Work, the podcast for CTE professionals and parents and teachers and anyone else looking for career and technical education information. We're talking about the medical industry today and how the Stanislaus County Office of Education is making real effort to connect with young folks and adults in a variety of programs. So I've asked Dallas Plaw, Director 3 here at the Stanislaus County Office of Education, to talk to me about a couple of different programs. So first, Dallas, I want to ask you about Destination Medicine. That is a very, very cool event.
Yeah, and it's a great event that we've hosted now for 3 years. We partner with the Stanislaus Medical Society, and we offer opportunities for students to learn about the industry and also talk to doctors in the field and also students in the field about what the programs are and the great things that they're doing.
Talk to me a little bit about the partnerships are really important in SCO.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like we can't really force education down the throats of people because, obviously we're not experts in the medical field. Mm-hmm. So talk to me about how this partnership developed.
Yeah, so obviously there's a huge need in healthcare in Stanislaus County. It's one of the most in-demand industries that we're trying to get students access to. So the Medical Society has been great and instrumental in doing podcasts for us, Zoom meetings with students, and also an in-person event where students get to do hands-on activities with the Da Vinci machine and also learn and explore different types of career pathways in the medical field. Mm-hmm. So they've been very, very hands-on and very engaged in wanting to help us get the information out to our high school students.
So I've seen this Da Vinci machine. It's pretty impressive, man. Just to describe it, and I'll have some video here that I'll show you if you're watching the podcast on the video podcast. It's like a surgical robot where somebody is like kind of almost like playing a video game. Their fingertips, mm-hmm. right, are working the tools, and in a completely separate, in our case, in the live event, Destination Medicine, it's in the same room, but it could be in a hospital situation, like in a separate room, and it's almost like doing surgery virtually. And that's a real merger of kind of new technology, really advanced technology, and the medical industry.
Yep, I totally agree. And the students love seeing the technology piece added because, that's what they're growing up with. So they like to make the connection in the medical field and all the great things that you can do with technology.
Fantastic. So do we just talk about high level at this event, like surgeons and things like that? Because it seems like there's a lot of other positions in the medical field.
Yeah, and it's really open to a lot of different positions. So clinical medical assistant, doctors, physicians, we have ER doctors. So, it's the whole kind of spectrum, and the students get to learn about different avenues that they can take in order to get to those fields. And we also talk about, different post-secondary opportunities at local educational agency places too.
Oh, that's a good idea.
For entry-level positions.
Yeah, because the path to get to a medical career is probably the toughest part. It's rather ambiguous, and it seems like mostly for kids, if you're interested in the medical field, you kind of first start off, I want to be a doctor or a nurse. But we've discovered over the last 3 years that there are a ton of support positions in the medical industry, and we're exploring those as well.
Correct. Yep.
Nice. So this is a live event, obviously in the midst of a pandemic. I'd love to make this podcast evergreen, right? Mm-hmm. But for now going on the 2 years, we've been dealing with this pandemic, and that's kind of prevented us from doing this live event. Mm-hmm. So how has SCO made adjustments with Destination Medicine?
So last year with the pandemic, we wanted to have our students have access to a lot of these great things that the Medical Society is helping us out with. So we pivoted and we went to Zoom meetings with local doctors and even students who are in medical programs at UC Davis, for example. So we actually had over 250 kids, I believe, that attended the Zoom meetings. And we did three Zoom meetings throughout the year where students had a chance to ask questions to these doctors, and they got to just share their experiences to get these kids some exposure to the industry that they might not have.
So let me ask you sort of a speculative question. I've got my own opinions on this, but it's a speculative question. We have learned that, people hate remote learning. Parents hate it. Kids are tuned off by it, that sort of thing. But when we took Destination Medicine kind of virtual, we got a lot of attention. We got a huge registration, like over 300 kids registered. I remember at least one of the nights we had 150 kids participating, like on a Tuesday night, extracurricular, 6:30 at night, so well after class time. A lot of them had no incentive from their teachers on campus to attend. What do you suspect is the reason behind such a high attendance on a virtual medical event?
So I think that there's a lot of passion out there with kids, in the medical field. There's a lot of people who, want to help people out. They're caregivers. They're just passionate people about the healthcare industry. So I think the more you engage kids with things that they like and they want to explore, you'll get the kids who want to participate. So it's just a matter of providing the opportunity for them to do it. If you have kids that are in school and they don't like a certain subject, they're going to be tuned out for the most part for that part of the day. But if you get something that they're interested in, you'll hook them and they'll be able to, take advantage of the time and learn about the different things that we're providing for them. And I think if we didn't do these things, and just decided to cancel the Destination Medicine event, not do anything, the kids would have missed out on all these valuable experiences. So I think that us, continuing to work together with the Stanislaus Medical Society and, pivoting, giving these kids some opportunities was extremely valuable. And the turnout and the responses we got were phenomenal. A lot of kids had some great feedback for us.
So I agree. I concur. I think, my speculation on why that happened is self-motivation as well. There definitely seem to be kids in a demographic that are very passionate about where they want to be in the medical industry. So that's fantastic. All right. So we've done this virtual event because of the pandemic. We've done it a couple of times. The first time we did it over 4 nights, and it was all really kind of high level. We had neurosurgery and heart surgeons and just a wide variety over 4 nights of discussions. Then we did another virtual event where we got some medical students from UC Davis. That was super interesting because the questions that were generated by high school students for those students, that was real tremendous. For me, that virtual event was a learning experience. Did you learn anything by that event?
Yeah, I think for the kids, it aligned directly with their age group. So it's like, these are kids who are just out of high school. They were asking them, how do you apply? What's your GPA? When it was doctors, neurosurgeons, those kind of things, those are professions that are, probably 10 years down the road from where they really are in life. Yeah. So I felt like having them interact with the college kids who are, 18, 19, 20, somewhere in that range, they got more of like hey, I'm close to what this goal could be. So I felt like the questions the kids were asking were professional. I felt like the college kids gave them a good representation of what is, what they need to do to get to that situation. And the college kids were very honest with these high school kids. They were saying, this isn't easy. You have to dedicate yourself to this kind of hours. You have to do your clinical thing. So it really gave the kids a good idea of if they sign up for this medical field, these are the real expectations, within the next couple of years.
Yeah, some of the questions really got real. Yeah. And deep too. And so we're doing this one more time. We got another, before we can plan a live event coming up, we're doing one more, at least at this point, one more virtual event. And that is coming up in February. Tell me about that event. 8th and 9th of February, 8th and 9th of February. I'll look it up and I'll put all the details. 8th and 9th of February coming up. We're doing a 2-night event. And because the students after our medical student event, we got a lot of questions about nurses and again, support positions like physician's assistant. And I don't think a lot of people entering the medical field consider like a physician's assistant. Again, it's either doctor or nurse tend to be the target. But again, there's a whole host of support positions that we can expose kids to. So we're in the planning stages of this next event coming up. And again, partnership with the Medical Society, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yep. And like you said, it's about exposing them to a lot of different industries. We're not doing just one type of doctor, every time. We're doing x-ray technicians. There's a lot of great livable wage jobs out there in the medical field for entry-level people. So even office jobs, you got medical billing and coding. You've got the frontline support with the office staff too. So I think just exposing these kids to all these opportunities and showing them what their career path can be and how to obtain it is the goal.
That's fantastic. And again, it is a huge need, especially here in the Central Valley. We seem to be always short on doctors and nurses and medical staff in general. So, Dallas, I'm going to have you back a little later in this podcast. Okay. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to talk to Dana Keller from Johansen High School. So you guys stick around. This is Ready for Work. We'll be right back. Ready for Work is made possible with help from our premier podcast sponsor, Bay Valley Tech Code Academy. Bay Valley Tech offers free and low-cost coding programs for students seeking life-changing careers in software development. Bay Valley Tech focuses on teaching in-demand web development skills. Unlike other coding and technical schools, Bay Valley Tech leverages a unique community-based training strategy. Professional instructors help students in the Central Valley learn how to use online programming languages to accelerate their careers. Locations in Modesto and Stockton, and a free code academy as an online program, Bay Valley Tech is a great place to learn how to code, but it is an even more amazing place to build connections necessary to land a paid software internship or web development job. Learn more about this fast-growing code academy at bayvalleytech.com. All right, welcome back to the program. I have some guests in the studio I'm really excited to speak to. So, Mary Bond, you are a UCLA Physician's Assistant student. Is that correct? Correct. I'm going to get you real close to that microphone. Okay. That's much better. And also I have Dana Keller. Dana, you are a career navigator at Johansen High School here in Modesto, correct?
Yes, that's
all right. You also work on some other campuses as well.
I was taking over Grigori High School, being a career navigator there until they filled the position. So I'd been working both campuses since August, but they've officially filled that position, and I'm slowly handing everything off to the new person.
Handing it back. I've had the opportunity to actually do quite a bit of work with you in terms of your duties as a career navigator, my duties as a CTE coordinator here at SCO.
Absolutely.
And everybody, including me, has said you're doing tremendous work.
Oh, thank you.
And this project is kind of one of those that is, I like to think of it as sort of icing on the cake, because you do actually have a lot of duties. There are not really, to my knowledge, like counselors, right? Career counseling.
No, that is, I would say, we could probably change our title a little bit, and I would say that would be an accurate description of what we do as well, because we do a lot of career counseling, and one of them, it was an unexpected, excited thing having Mary come and talk about these different things. But yes, there's so many different things that we're involved in for sure.
So before I jump real deep into our topic today, let's kind of set this up, because like when I went to school, I had for my entire freshman class, when I entered Tracy High School, I had a counselor that counseled everybody. And at the time, my class was one of the largest at the time, right? And that sort of has changed. And now we have, at least in the Modesto area, we have career navigators now whose purpose is to kind of guide kids through career and technical education or vocational exploration or college opportunities, those sorts of things. So that sort of role has defined or has changed over time. And this is sort of a unique position because you get to do quite a bit with kids that a regular sort of traditional counselor doesn't get to do, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like you said, there's 3 different areas that really work with students. We have our academic counselors who are really preparing them to graduate from high school. We have our college counselor who is mainly focused on getting them through make sure they have their 4-year eligibility if they're choosing to go to a 4-year. And I pretty much help those students who are interested in going to MJC, working dual enrollment, and for those students, like you said, CTE, who maybe college path isn't something that they're thinking about. And so I help them kind of basically navigate, and find the best interests that fit them, and help them secure a pathway. So when they graduate, they're not thinking, okay, now what? They have a plan, and they can move forward from there.
No, that actually strikes me as a good setup, because when I went to school, one person trying to manage, I'm guessing there was probably maybe 300 kids in my class alone, maybe more than that my freshman year, because I'm told it was the largest at the time in history. The town had been growing and things like that. A lot of people moving there and that sort of thing. And I certainly kind of slipped through the cracks. And you've heard my story.
Yes, I have.
I kind of slipped through the cracks there. And when I gave up, they gave up on me. And I didn't really have anybody to turn to. So you have the ability, because you're sort of more focused on those students who may not necessarily go to a 4-year school or are looking for an alternative. You have the ability to concentrate on them and give them the ability through a whole bunch of other programs in the area to kind of say, hey, what do you think of this?
Absolutely.
What do you think of this?
Yes.
What about this? It seems like a much better system.
Yeah, I do think it's really helpful. I mean, our focus is on 10th through 12th graders. So if we get them early enough, they can get really, set up to really have a good path for when they graduate. And it doesn't seem like anybody really gets left behind. That, you get your 4-year route students and the ones who are not interested, who already have a plan, and that doesn't necessarily include, higher education after high school.
Okay, so 10 through 12, right? So sophomores through seniors. Is that freshman year sort of the gap year? Here you guys get 1 year to figure it out.
You know what I have done, I've gone into, our school has a special program called freshman seminar class. So I have entered every freshman seminar class and educated them on what I have to offer them. And I have offered the things like dual enrollment. I do a career assessment test. So I have offered these things to them as well. It's just primarily they're pretty young to know their path. And so those career assessments can really help them figure that out. And if they are advanced and they know it, I would never turn them away. But it really starts working once they're 10th through 12th grade. That's really our focus.
So they know it's coming.
Yes.
But there's not a lot of pressure in that freshman year.
Yeah, we would just want them to get acclimated to high school and make sure that they, know exactly kind of, get comfortable with high school. There's a lot of things to learn, obviously.
There is.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course, you've heard my story as well. And it's like, I felt a lot of pressure my freshman year. Like, you got to figure this out. You have to know where you're going. And if you don't have it figured out, well, then somebody's going to figure it out for you. Or like in my case, you get left behind.
Yeah.
And so this seems like a much better system and a much more manageable system.
Yeah, we're really, the college counselor and I, we really do know that college is not for everybody. It's not everybody's path. And so it's very important to us to know that just because that's not where you see yourself, that we find an alternative for them when we help them with that.
Okay. Well, let's turn our focus to our topic today.
Absolutely.
How do we know Mary?
Mary was introduced to me by our principal, Mr. Nathan Shar, and she is a former Johansen High School alumni. And she reached out to our school, to our principal, promoting a program that she was putting together. And our principal introduced her to me. And then we started meeting and kind of collaborating and creating this program that she has put together. So it's pretty amazing.
So I learned of this program through you. And I'm fascinated by this. So now, Mary, let's talk about your backstory. When were you a student at Johansen High School? Tell me about your freshman year at Johansen High School.
Okay. So thank you again, Dana.
Of course.
So let's see. Starting off my freshman year, that was 2014. So I was a student at Johansen. I'm a first gen student, and I wasn't really sure about what career path to follow. And then slowly but surely, I kind of got influenced and kind of like pushed a little bit more towards the medical field because my sister was currently studying to be an RN, so a registered nurse. And before she had like entered the program and everything, she was scribing at an ER in Turlock, and she was actually scribing under a physician assistant. And
so let me ask you. Some people don't know, and I recently learned what this is. What is a scribe?
A scribe is basically very similar to a medical assistant, but you're doing more of like the note taking as opposed to like working more with the patients. You're working alongside, let's say, like a provider. It can be a doctor, it can be a physician assistant, wherever they kind of need someone to, do most of the note taking, since that is like a big part of, caring for patients, like the charts and everything.
So is this someone who transcribes like doctors' medical notes into medical records? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so while she was working as a scribe for this PA, she would come home every now and then and kind of talk more about this new career path in the healthcare field that I had no idea existed. So a PA, and the way she described it really intrigued me because like she would talk very in detail about like the schooling, what the job entailed, different routes you can take. Because she worked very closely with this PA, and like she was able to talk about like what he did and why he chose that career and what made him, follow it and what kept him going. And so all of those things came into play, and it sounded like a career that really interested me and fit my personality. And so, that's when I kind of started following the healthcare field a little bit more. And yeah.
Now, did I hear you correctly? You knew you wanted to be in the medical field, but you just didn't know what that was. Now, it strikes me, most of the students that I know, and I don't know a lot that are interested in the medical field. Most of the ones that I know, I work with Ms. Keller on destination medicine, right? And this is a project that we do with a local medical society that kind of exposes kids to different medical fields. But it seems like most people at a young age that are exposed to a career in the medical field, you got doctors and nurses. You're kind of heading down two paths. Both usually take a long time. Both are very expensive. And most people don't make it to that level. But we have, at least in the past, failed in education in general to expose kids to careers that are really support positions in the medical industry. But it seems like you had somebody in your family that was in that field that kind of said, hey, what about this direction, right? I don't know if you wanted to be a doctor or a nurse or something. Is that what you were looking at originally?
Not necessarily. I was just exposed to the medical field just because my sister was in it. And then because she introduced the PA field to me, that's what like really like got the ball rolling.
PA, physician's assistant. Okay. Yeah. So you have graduated Johansen. You have gone on to
UCLA. Yes.
UCLA, and that is UCLA Medicals?
No, it's actually, I'm still an undergraduate student. Currently a fourth year. But yeah, I am getting my bachelor's in psychology currently and taking prereqs for PA school, which is after,
Got it. Now, you are involved in a physician's assistant club? Okay, and is that how this project came about?
Yes. So after COVID happened and everything, I was in this program or this organization at school called the UCLA's Pre-Physician Assistant Club. And we, as like a group of students, wanted to create some kind of internal program that we could, consistently work with and also, target different parts of the community. And we looked into tutoring. We looked into like, building care packages for the homeless. But what really like stuck out to a majority of us when I presented like all of these different ideas to help the community was the one where the current one we have right now, which is Match, mentoring and teaching careers in healthcare. And it's specifically, or especially like stuck out to us because this was a program that neither or any of us have ever like been involved with in our own high schools, and also like just like from by ear, like, oh, we've never heard of a program like in other high schools around our community. And that's because our program, something unique about us is that we strive to really emphasize not only the stepping stones for a certain career path by like promoting certain patient healthcare experience. So for example, most grad schools such as PA or such as like getting your medical license requires you to have patient care experience in the form of like a medical assistant, a scribe, like I mentioned earlier, phlebotomist, all these types of patient care experience weren't really like promoted to us when we were younger. So that's one aspect of it. So providing the stepping stones in that case. And also, like you said earlier, the common medical field positions that we hear about nowadays is like RN or doctor. And that's the other side of it that we want to really emphasize, which is trying to promote these other healthcare careers that maybe are an easier route or a more interesting route that none of these people have, or none of these students have heard of before. And that's because, like in my personal experience, I had no idea what a physician assistant was until I actually heard about it from my sister.
Interesting. So then let's talk about the structure of Match. What, when you guys put this together, what brought you back to Johansen High School? Was that your purpose that you said, you know what, I didn't have somebody at my high school. I want to be the one to bring this back to my alma mater?
I think it was like a mixture of things. One being I was very close to a lot of my teachers, which meant that I could have an easier access to, implementing this new program. And that's why I had reached out to Mr. Shar, my leadership teacher, which I'm very, very close to. And they all like welcomed me with open arms, and especially Dana too. It just made the process a lot easier. And I knew I had a support system for Match. So
excellent. Now, earlier you mentioned COVID. You're in Los Angeles,
yes.
UCLA. So this was rather easy to put together because remote learning was kind of commonplace, as much as everybody hates it, right? Or at least they say they do. I have come to learn to like a few of those things. Like I don't have to rush around to meetings and things like that. But I've also learned that like students who are medical field minded don't mind those meetings so much. They are more apt to like log on, especially on their own time, to attend these things, to learn about the medical industry. Was that pretty key for you to put that together that way?
I think it definitely helped that it was during that time period, despite it being a pandemic and all. But yeah. Because it was online, we were able to, implement this over here in NorCal while we were all the way in SoCal, and also make it in a way where they could meet after school at a specific time that they preferred, which was much, much easier than having to drive to the actual school and put on this entire program.
Nice. So tell me,
I was going to say, actually, I do feel it was a great time to do it, because if we maybe have launched this last year while they were already doing online learning, it may have been a little bit more difficult because all day online and then at night online. So I think it was a great balance, them going back to in person. So they really only had to, meet up that once a week online. So I think it was, I think that encouraged them a little bit more,
Yeah, that's actually a great segue. So how often does your Match group meet?
So our program is 8 weeks long, and we meet from 7 to 8 once a week.
7 days, so 1 hour once a week for 8 weeks. And in that 8 weeks, what curriculum, what information are you covering?
So the first larger portion of the meeting is basically, we'll either switch from a presentation that we create for our students ourselves. So it will be mostly like MD versus PA, those types of comparisons so that students can get a clear picture of what exactly is a better fit for them. And then the smaller section of the meeting entails a breakout room where mentees and mentors break out into their rooms, and they have a more, flexible and more intimate time for them to discuss more things that are geared towards their goals. For example, one mentee might want to talk more about resume writing, and their mentor will create either like a workshop for them, maybe a presentation, something that will like allow them to work on that specific skill that they are currently working towards in that session or that time period.
Excellent. It just popped into my head. I had heard a doctor say recently that you can apply to like hundreds of medical schools to be accepted to one. That ratio seems probably different for a physician's assistant. You got a better shot at becoming a physician's assistant as a step into the medical industry as opposed to taking that gamble. Correct?
Yeah, I would say so. But like with all careers in the healthcare field, I feel like they're always getting more popular, having a higher demand, which is can be a good or bad thing, which makes it more competitive, but also, a little bit easier because a lot more hospitals might want more PAs. But yeah, that's kind of why we strive to kind of promote all of these different career paths, because there's a lot of hidden ones that I feel like students don't know about.
Okay. So you and I spoke previously to this conversation, and that conversation to me came off as you sort of harbor a great deal of passion for this community. And earlier you said you're first generation here. Where's that passion come from?
I think one thing that really influenced me was like my own like family dynamic, which is kind of like a template that I try to use for this match program. So like I mentioned earlier, my family, specifically my sister, she was the one that kind of encouraged me or kind of guided me into like pursuing PA. And alongside with that, my brother was also another person that kind of told me about or kind of encouraged me to also go to UCLA, because initially I was deciding on two different schools, UC Merced and UCLA. And my brother kind of gave me the stepping stones and kind of pushed me and told me like, oh, this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity. So with this whole idea of like having this better family dynamic, I wanted to use that with Johansen specifically because when I was at Johansen, I kind of noticed that a lot of the people in my community, even very close friends, they didn't have that special family dynamic that I had. And that is something that I think is very essential. And even speaking with the very close leadership teacher that I kind of grew up with during my 4 years at Johansen, she also told me that family, she could tell that family played a role with these students and like what career they wanted to pursue and like whether or not they even wanted to go to college. It had a really huge impact on that. And so she told me that she had many experiences where a lot of these students, they would go home and they wouldn't have that stable household to kind of tell them, oh, like, you should be, putting yourself out there at school. You should be kind of, taking care of yourself in terms of your future. And with that, I kind of meshed it all together. My community, my family dynamic, I really wanted to use it all as like a template for Match.
Fantastic. So, Dana, I want to ask you, is Match something that we can replicate and scale out to other campuses?
We have discussed that. We talked about at the very beginning, do we want to hold this just for Johansen? Do we want to invite, the other navigators and find students? And we thought, let's, since her heart is so passionate, being an alumni, that we'd start there and see how successful it is, how much, what the response would be. At this point, I think we want to keep it. She prefers to keep it with Johansen. But I do think that it can be replicated if the word is put out there to other students from other schools that are alumni that do, follow a path that maybe counselors keep in touch with, to bring them back, show them how Mary put this together and her team put this together. I think they could follow that, absolutely. I think, I know that I could find many students at each high school that would love to join this program. We definitely had a successful following right from the beginning. And today was today actually was the day that we were able to meet with the students. Mary met with them in person for the first time. We handed them their certificates of completion. She gave them each a PA shirt from at UCLA. I mean, it was a great ending. This is kind of like the final end to the program. And they, most of them attended it. And I think they're all looking to come to her next one that she's going to put on again, I think, right?
Yeah.
I think
so we'll be starting another cycle kind of around next year in January. And yeah, when we received the feedback from a lot of our mentees, they expressed a lot of gratitude and also interest in joining that next cycle. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, that's super fantastic. We have lacked in our community, right? Here in the northern San Joaquin Valley region, we have lacked medical professionals for a long, long time. We now have, UC Merced now has a teaching hospital, right? Which we're super excited about. But we've always, we're desperate to hire doctors. We're desperate to hire nurses. First thing they typically do is Google us. They go, that's not a fantastic place to live, right? Which is weird. We get knocked for a lot of things by stupid websites like Wallet Hub and stuff that knock us for things that say, we don't have enough entertainment, or we don't have enough this, we don't have enough that. And then of course, all the negative news stories hit the top of your Google feed and things like that. But this strikes me as, I'll back up just a quick second. What I see consistently is the people that grow up here have a passion for this community, and they may go away, but they always bring what they've learned back, right, to serve their community. And now we have this opportunity where you have done that. You have shown that my theory is actually correct, right? You go away, you learn something awesome, you bring it back, you go, hey guys, check this out, right? And now we have we have an opportunity with a teaching hospital so close to us in our region that we are now going to be connected to, like with rapid transit very soon and things like that. It's going to make it very, very easy to sort of grow our own in this industry. So I'm really excited about this program that you guys have put together. And it sounds like something that, as you said, we can kind of maybe scale out and remodel and maybe tweak if we have to for other campuses and kind of grow this as a field.
I mean, they could even, like I said, is if Mary's expertise, because she's in the PA program, is healthcare, another one who has a different major. It's that same idea, but maybe different areas of expertise at each school. I do think the mentoring program aspect of this is what they're drawn to, because they don't just ask about healthcare sometimes, right? They're asking about college entrance, just a lot of different things, right, of the mentoring that they're looking for. And that's what they provide. So I think, I would love it. I know we're in the infant stage of it, but as she goes through and as she gets more comfortable expanding, I'd be right there with her to encourage it and support her for sure.
That's fantastic. As we wrap up here, I want to ask you sort of a intimate, personal question. What's one of the, and you don't share what you will, what's one of the toughest questions you've been asked? And I'll preface that by saying, through Destination Medicine, I was a little shocked to learn that students who are interested in the medical career, like becoming a doctor, have some really deep and philosophical questions about how tough it is in that industry. What are some questions that students asked you about, that you had to mentor them about, that they wanted to know about being a physician's assistant?
Well, some of our students didn't really ask about the physician assistant career path, and specifically, they were kind of interested in just being open to a lot of different healthcare careers. But I think one thing that I personally feel that a lot of people or students are intimidated by is the idea of like the imposter syndrome. Not really,
I just learned of this.
Yeah, so not really feeling like they have the abilities to even give it a try and like pursue a certain career in the healthcare field, because this is like a pretty pristine like career pathway, and it takes a lot of not even like just financial stability, but also like that some kind of good support system, and like that drive that kind of like helps them and guides them towards that career path in the healthcare field. So that's kind of like something that I personally had to deal with as well when I was specifically at, when I first entered UCLA as a first-gen student. I felt myself kind of lost. And although I was interested in the PA field, I was always very, very intimidated. To this day, I was a little bit less, but like I'm very intimidated. But with the idea of joining such a hard, the very difficult career path, given my background and my family history, my parents were refugees from Vietnam, and we didn't really grow up with much, like compared to a lot of the other applicants that will be applying, around us for certain, grad schools, like the PA programs. And I think that's one thing that I strive to kind of target for this match program, because although like there are, a lot of these students applying that, they have, all these resources, all this money, you can definitely make it if you utilize the tools that you have. And that's like the main thing I feel that the mentorship program kind of wants to emphasize and let the students know, like, you as a person, you will always have the tools to succeed. You just need some sort of guidance. And that's what Match kind of strives to help you with. How do you use those tools? What can I do to make it a little bit easier for me to kind of follow this pathway that I'm interested in, despite me having these nerves about where I'm from or who I am.
Fantastic. That's a great response, actually.
Absolutely.
Ladies, I appreciate you joining me today on Ready for Work. Really excited about what you have put together and bringing it back to us because our community needs it. And kudos to you. Dana, do you mind if I put on our website your contact information for others that hear this, that want to know more and maybe can talk to you about how this works and scaling it out?
Yeah, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys joining me today, and you guys stick around. We'll be right back.
StanCareerPath.com is a new website from the Stanislaus County Office of Education, designed to help students and parents, adult learners, and local businesses connect with career and technical education programs throughout the county. High school students and parents can use StanCareerPath.com to help with career pathway decisions in scheduling high school classes. Adult learners can use StanCareerPath.com to discover training programs available in Stanislaus County. Businesses can use StanCareerPath.com to connect with local high school programs and build partnerships in a variety of ways with educational agencies. StanCareerPath.com also allows for collaboration between educators in the same career fields. With resources like Join the Workforce, you can discover businesses in Stanislaus County that offer career opportunities for students and adults in 15 specific industry sectors. StanCareerPath.com is an excellent tool to collaborate as a county and work towards preparing our students for their careers. Check it out at StanCareerPath.com.
All right, welcome back to the program. This is Ready for Work, the podcast for CTE professionals here all over the Central Valley. So once again, I have Dallas Pla, Director 3 from Stanislaus County Office of Education here. Dallas, I want to talk about the Career Inspiration Center, which is fairly new here in Stanislaus County, a variety of industries that you're exploring there. But I want to focus on the medical part of that program, the Career Inspiration Center, because you and your team have done some really innovative things during this entire pandemic in order to help expose kids to the medical industry and very cool ways that they are getting really hands-on in ways that probably they never would have the opportunity. Tell me about the Career Inspiration Center.
Yeah, so the Career Inspiration Center is a new creative and innovative program, and it focuses on kids in 7th through 12th grade. And kids can come to the Inspiration Center and learn about a variety of industries, and they also learn about post-secondary programs and the wages associated with the jobs in those industries. So for example, for the medical program, kids come to the Career Inspiration Center and they do hands-on activities in a variety of different lessons. So one is we had our partners from AMR come and do a video lesson for us, and kids do CPR training.
So AMR is the ambulance folks.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So they came and did a video, and the kids do, like I mentioned, CPR and also first aid. So like splinting and bandaging and just basic things. So we also have one of our partners in the Medical Society. She did a video on basically anatomy. So we bought this 3D anatomy table where the students actually get to see the insides of a cadaver, but in a 3D kind of format. So the students get exposure to seeing the organs and also learning about surgery as well. We also partnered with Elizabeth DeMichaels, who did a dental video with us, and the students get to scrape wax off mannequins, off their teeth. And also explored, we have 3D laptops, and they get to explore the teeth as well and get to pull out the teeth and kind of manipulate them and learn about the different teeth. So there's a lot of different hands-on type activities that the students get to do over the course of a day, where they get exposure to the medical industry.
So this is kind of hard to describe in an audio sense, right? And of course, if you're watching this podcast, wherever you watch podcasts, Facebook, YouTube, et cetera, you'll see what Dallas is talking about. But this is actual technology, like what you described the cadaver table. Mm-hmm. This is a digital cadaver, but it's in 3D.
Correct.
So, and they can go through the body parts and things like that as if they were doing an exam or an autopsy or a dissection. Like, and I go back to like high school when you had to dissect a worm and stuff. Human body's a little bit different, but this is a digital capacity. So we're really marrying kind of really cool advanced technology that kids are into, but exposing them to the medical industry in this capacity as well.
Correct. Yeah. And even with the technology part, I forgot to mention, we have robotic arms, and the students get to mimic like what a Da Vinci machine would do. And they get to actually pick up a heart, like one of our little hearts we have, and move it into a certain area. So they're showing how, the technology intertwines with the medical field. So yeah, it's just a full day of awesome hands-on activities for these kids, just to pique their interest. You might have kids who have never been exposed to a medical type career, and they come here, and I've seen kids firsthand say, "Oh my gosh, this is so much fun." A lot of them think of it as the medical field as just like, dealing with blood, and organs and those kind of things, but they see a lot of different sides to it that really get them motivated to potentially go on to that next stage of their career.
So that sparks an interesting question in my head. What types of students are showing up at the Career Inspiration Center? So in a previous segment on this episode, we talked about sort of a more advanced demographic that are showing up for lectures and virtual lectures and things that doctors are helping us put on with Destination Medicine. But the Career Inspiration Center is really meant for hands-on learners, really meant for folks to touch things, kids to touch things and get some experience. Are you seeing that demographic?
Yeah, and it's open for 7th through 12th graders. So, you've got kids, who might not have ever, like I mentioned before, been exposed to this. So they're getting their hands dirty, but, and their hands on some things. But yeah, it's kids who, a lot of our CT kids who might be more apt to do the hands-on stuff, who might be more engaged in those type of lessons and activities. So we are seeing a lot of kids who might not, be like 100% interested in, maybe the 4-year college route or the main, go to college route, but might want to go to the medical field in some type of capacity.
Sure. You mentioned dental, right? And you have these cool kind of half mouths with a plexiglass face, and kids can really get in there and move the jaw around, and the gums are, kind of rubbery, and the teeth are there. And like you said, you put wax on this, and the kids will clean the teeth ultimately. Yeah. And you don't need a 4-year degree to be a dental assistant, right?
No, really. I think 8 months you can go to a dental assistant school and get your license to do that. And we're actually starting a new dental program in partnership with MJC in the upcoming year. So we're obviously promoting programs in the local area to keep these kids who are interested in these fields, to get them the opportunity for appropriate schooling.
That's cool. So I'm imagining, like if I was that age and I go, oh yeah, it sounds like a good career. It's got good pay. I don't really want to go to school. I don't know too much about it. But if I had the opportunity to show up at the Career Inspiration Center and actually do this and go, hey, I could do this, as a career, then the exposure really is, hey, come try this out first, and then we'll show you where these classes are and what it entails to get your degree.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
a fantastic way to do that.
Yeah, and a lot of high schools in the local area don't have, huge medical programs, and a lot of high schools don't have any medical programs at all. So this is another opportunity for these kids who have not been exposed to it to come in and get some exposure.
That's fantastic. Okay, so if a high school, let's say they don't have a medical program, but they think they might want to get involved with the Career Inspiration Center, how do they do that?
So right now it is a grant-funded program. So our partnering districts are Ceres, Patterson, Houston, Denair, and our SCO sites that we oversee. So in the future, it will be opened up to more school sites. So we're working on some type of, figure out how much it would cost. Is it going to be a lottery system? What school districts, would get in. So we're still working out some of those things for the future.
Fairly new, but our hopes is that, we have a waiting list of kids that want to come and schools that want to participate, because it's a huge, huge opportunity. Now we've in this, and I'm going to have you back to talk about the Career Inspiration Center in a bigger sense, but I want to touch on this. This is not just I don't want anybody to misunderstand. This is not just the medical industry. This is not like a couple of days where kids come and all we do is medical. Really, we focus on a wider variety of industries, don't we, at the Career Inspiration Center?
Yeah, and then it's broken down into different months. So to start the year from September through October, we did technology. So kids came in and did coding, they did robotics for the whole course of the day. And then once November hit, then we shifted to medical. So kids came in, did their day field trip in medical, and at the end of the year from, I believe, middle of February till May is when we'll focus on ag and manufacturing. So there's really 4 industries that we're hitting over the course of the year for these kids coming into the program.
All of those industries are big for us here in the Central Valley.
Correct.
All desperate for high quality, highly skilled labor.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of great kids, in Stanislaus County. We want to do our best to make sure we keep them around and, get them in good jobs in our community.
Fantastic. Dallas, can I link your information on the podcast page so folks, if they wanted more information about the Career Inspiration Center, they can contact you?
Of course. More than happy.
Fantastic. Yep. I appreciate you joining me once again. I can't wait to get out there when the kids are on there. I've been to the Career Inspiration Center, super impressive. And if any teachers are wondering about this technology that we're talking about, it is way cool. You got to come see it.
Check it out.
Way cool.
Yep. So, more than welcome to give tours out. Yep.
Perfect. Dallas, I appreciate you joining us. You guys stick around. This is Ready for Work. We'll be right back. Volt Institute in downtown Modesto is currently accepting applications for our next group of students for maintenance mechanics with hands-on training. Jobs in the industrial maintenance field are expected to increase by 15% in Stanislaus County by 2024. Careers in this field are high-paying, in demand, and have career growth potential. Volt Institute is a nonprofit training center ran in partnership with Stanislaus County Office of Education and Opportunity Stanislaus. If you're looking for a better career, Volt can help. Get more information or enroll now at voltinstitute.com. right. Well, that brings us to the end of another great episode. I hope you enjoyed it. This one was not easy to put together with times being what they are with COVID and everything happening. So this one was a little bit challenging for me. I really do hope you enjoyed it and you got something out of it. If you did, be sure to like and love and share this podcast. We'd really appreciate that. Most importantly, be sure you subscribe, whether you're listening on wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Google, Spreaker, Diesel, any place that you get podcasts, you can get this podcast. And if you're watching, I really appreciate that. Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're consuming your video podcasts, I really appreciate it. I got a couple of different programs to tell you about that are for adults. And I know in this episode, we talked all about high school kids and how to get them connected to the medical industry, but I don't want to leave the adults out. So I got two programs I want to tell you about. Stanislaus County Office of Education has partnered with First Lady Permanente, and they do a medical assistant program here in downtown Modesto. It's at the Tom Chagnon Education Center. That's the building we're in right now. And it is 100 total nights plus an externship to get certified there. I will have links on our website, readyforworkpodcast.com, if you want to check that out. Really affordable, and it gets rave reviews from the students that attend. The Yosemite Community College Nursing Assistant class begins very soon. There's an informational Zoom meeting. It's an in-person and Zoom meeting that you can attend. February 25th on that Zoom meeting. There is a mandatory meeting March 25th if you're accepted into the program, and that's in person only. And then the classes for the Yosemite Community College District Nursing Assistant class begins May 6th. And again, I will have links to that up on our website, readyforworkpodcast.com, along with all of the information that we had in our podcast today, whether it is Destination Medicine, which is a cool event that we do for high school kids all over Stanislaus County, the match program that Dana Keller and Mary Bond put together at Peter Johansen High School. If you're looking to replicate that in your own high school, get connected to Dana. She'll help you out on how to do that. And then, of course, the Career Inspiration Center, which is a very, very cool place. I'll have links to all of that and how to connect to Dallas Ply if you're interested in having your school, or if you're a student and want more information, if you're a high school student and want more information about how to take the day trip there and get your hands on some of this cool medical training technology, you can do that as well. Again, I'll just remind you, like, love, share. Please like, love, share, and more importantly, subscribe. Hope you enjoyed this episode. This is Ready for Work. So until next time, get to work.